From Sydney, Australia to Las Vegas, Nevada, the UFC is back in its home state with a middleweight main event between Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodrigues. It's UFC Fight Night, and it's taking place on ESPN Plus, and we are here to talk about it from a gambling perspective, as always. Hello, everybody. Brett Okamoto alongside Ian Parker. Sneaky good card here following up UFC 312 pay-per-view, so I'm excited to talk about it from a gambling perspective with my man Ian Parker. But before we do, we're going to look back on Sydney, Australia. How do we do at UFC 312 at the window, Ian?
Brett, we finally broke the cold streak. We got profit out of the night. Our best bets did exceptionally well overall. We hit our 5-unit play. Tatiana Suarez was our only loss. Bellato pushed. Teixeira won. Matthews hit over 1.5. Easy peasy. Cody Steele, man, you're killing me, dude. You are a combat grappling champion. You chose not to grapple, and we missed out on the parlay. But we profited that week. Let's get this thing going. I need to get back on track with my parlays, Brett. I'm only 1-3 on the year. That was my bread and butter last year. This year, right now, we're getting back on that streak for the parlays.
For sure. The parlays are going to come. It's always nice to see the green next to the bread and butter of the show, though, which is your best bet. So nice job at UFC 312. Let's look ahead to UFC Fight Night. It is a 6-fight main card. You can find it on ESPN Plus. All of these odds courtesy of ESPN BET. Jared Cannonier, a near 2-1 underdog against Gregory Rodrigues. This is one of those sneaky good fights I was referring to. Calvin Kattar, Yusuf Zalal at featherweight. You got Edmund Shabazian on the card as a favorite. The Bonfim brothers are showing up on this card, so a lot to talk about here at UFC Fight Night. Let's start with the main event, and we have seen some line movement. This is the second card in a row, a UFC card that we've seen some pretty drastic line movement, and this time it is going against the way of Jared Cannonier. He started off as a small favorite, and now, as I mentioned earlier, nearly a 2-1 underdog to Gregory Rodrigues. What do you make of this line movement, and is it trending in the right direction?
It absolutely is, and any of you guys that got RoboCop in that plus number, I tip my hat to you. I love that. Look, Jared Cannonier is 40 years old. RoboCop looks like he's 50, but he is in his early to mid-30s, so the age thing does matter here. Cannonier is coming off back-to-back losses, one being a knockout, one just being dominated by Caio Borralho, where that fight, let's be realistic, probably could have been called when Borralho was on top, just landing relentless amount of strikes. RoboCop is a very interesting fighter. We have bet on him a lot. I think the only time we lost was when he got knocked out in round 1. We've seen him overcome adversity, and we're starting to now see him utilize his ground game, which is actually where he's at his strongest, which is crazy because his striking, he's got devastating power, he's got very good technique, and when he puts guys on their back, he's able to get the submission here. I think for Jared Cannonier, being at age 40, back-to-back losses, just not really improving anywhere, he has a puncher's chance because he's got crazy strength. However, the biggest disparity here, Brett, is the ground game. I think Gregory Rodrigues gets this done inside the distance. This is going to be my premium play here because for me, I don't see him winning a decision. I just don't. Whether he lands the shot, takes it down, Cannonier I think his durability is also taking a little bit of a hit. We saw that in the Imavov fight. Give me RoboCop. This is going to be his showing out party. I think we've been saying this for a little while. He's a dark horse in the division. He's a very complete fighter. He's had some bangers. I think this is where he really puts it all together, puts on a show in his first 5-round main event and gets it done. Let's go RoboCop inside the distance. And look at that number. It's a great number.
Yeah, it is a great number. And like you mentioned, I feel like a lot of people, Gregory himself sleeps on the ground game. He should use it a little bit more because he is a phenomenal guy on the mat. And if he uses it here, I think it could be to his advantage in this matchup against Jared Cannonier. Let's go to the featherweight co-main event. It's a fight that I'm very much looking forward to. Yusuf Zalal, he came in. I think a lot of people were high on his potential. He had a little bit of a streaky kind of run his first time. Now he's left the UFC, is back, and he looks great. He's got a big opportunity here against Calvin Kattar. What do we think about this pretty significant fight here for both men at 145 pounds?
Look, I think for Yusuf Zalal, he's getting a name in Calvin Kattar at the right time. Kattar's coming off a lot of losses in a row. That Aljamain Sterling fight was really hard to watch. Aljo just had his way with Calvin Kattar, and he laid out the blueprint. And Yusuf Zalal has been utilizing his wrestling and his submission game to get these fights done. He did it against Jack Shore, he won by sub. He did it against Billy Q. And I think against Calvin Kattar, he's going to have to lean on that wrestling where Kattar is, although has a wrestling background, we just saw that when he goes up against like a real wrestler, he's at a major disadvantage here. I think Zalal is doing everything he's supposed to do. To your point, that first stint, He also went to a decision with Ilia Topuria, who's now the champ. So we know the guy has skills here. Kattar is as durable as they get. So, Brett, I was going to put Zalal in the parlay, but I still don't love that minus 400 number against someone in Kattar who could maybe present a little bit of a problem on the feet. So I'm going to take Zalal to win here by decision as my prop of the night. I'm okay with the minus 140. I don't see him putting away Kattar. Kattar is very hard to get out, as we've seen in multiple fights, whether it's by knockout or submission. I think Zalal is going to be able to dominate using the wrestling. So let's take it as the prop by decision. And then Zalal's got to get another top 5 guy in the future.
Super, super interesting fight. Big fight for both men, especially, though, for Calvin Kattar as he's looking to stop the rise of Youssef Zalal. Let's move on to Shabazian and Budka. Back to the middleweight division. And how are we feeling about Shabazian here as a big-time favorite? Minus 390 against Dylan Budka.
Yeah, well, look, the story here is going to be Buck is going to try and wrestle. Shabazian's going to try to stop it. And as we've seen Buck get tired, that's when Shabazian will be able to get the knockout here. What stuck out to me was the under 2.5 at minus 145 at the time where I sent my pick into the show. I think that Shabazian, his takedown defense, it's not amazing, but Bucka doesn't disguise his takedowns. He literally shoots in with nothing behind it. So when you fight someone like that, who's a predominant, predictable wrestler, you can have your hands down a little bit, and it helps your takedown defense go from just okay to really good. On the feet, Shabazian is ahead by light years. I think he gets it done pretty quick, under 2.5. Give us a little bit of a cushion there, and Shabazian's going to get it done.
Moving right along on this main card on ESPN Plus, you've got one of the Bonfim brothers with another big fight on his resume. Does he get the job done there in the Apex against Nazim Sadikov?
Dude, Sadikov is just a different type of animal. He's very hard to put away. The durability here, he's also very unpredictable with his striking, unorthodox. He also changes it up with his wrestling. And Bonfim went from good to okay to having a crazy knockout over Terrence McKinney. So his performances, the lack of consistency, although high potential, I'm a little worried about taking him at that number. However, over 2.5 is where I'm going to go. I think we're going to see a banger of a fight. I think we're going to see a very competitive fight. I think Sadikov is going to have flashes of fun. I don't want to say brilliance because the way he fights is a little zombie-ish. So let's go over 2.5 rounds. I can see Bonfim winning overall by decision, but I think that Sadikov is going to put up a much bigger fight than that line describes.
And moving right along, Angela Hill taking on Ketlin Souza. What do we like here in this pretty crucial matchup here for the ladies?
Look, I think Angela Hill has found the fountain of youth because even though she's, I believe 40 years old, she's fighting the best that she's fought. And even the ones that she's losing, she's gotten really unlucky with some split decisions or close decisions that have gone the other way here. Ketlin Souza, although talented, that last fight, she was a huge underdog. She rocked her opponent, got the sub. That's against someone, though, that was fighting a little careless, right? Against someone in Angela Hill, who's a high IQ fighter, knows where she's at her strongest. I think between the two on the feet, Angela Hill is still the more tactical and better striker here. I don't see where Souza really wins this fight dominantly. Maybe she puts Hill on her back, but we've seen Hill gotten way better in her ground game as well. So, Brett, if you're giving me anytime, when we're talking about value, a almost even money play between Angela Hill and you want to call them a prospect on a one-fight win streak, I'm going to go Angela Hill. She's fought the best of the best in the division. She doesn't get finished. She keeps it competitive, and the IQ is just, I think, where it gets her here. Give me Angela Hill. It's going to be a small one-unit play, but I think Ketlin Souza fighting against someone who's not reckless is where she's going to have a problem.
Angela Hill has found some value. There's been value betting on her throughout the course of her career. So we'll see if it happens again here this Saturday against Ketlin Souza. And to round us out, we've already talked about his brother. How about Gabriel Bonfim? Does he get the job done against Chaos Williams? Another, I wouldn't even call this a sleeper fight because I think a lot of people are looking forward to this one.
Yeah, no, this one should be a lot of fun here. You know, what we saw with Bonfim in one of his last fights, if he does it, against Aang Lusa, he was able to kind of cruise to a decision with the grappling. Chaos Williams is very difficult to take down. We know he carries a lot of power, and Bonfim is going to have to really be aware of that. And we've seen him kind of dabble with the striking a little bit. I'm going to go a little different here. I'm going to go over 1.5 rounds. I don't think he's going to be able to take down Chaos Williams so easily. And if he does, I think Williams is very good at getting back up, using the cage to stand up. And I think that clock is just going to drain. I honestly think that if you want to take a shot here at something crazy or a little long shotish, which will be, my long shot will be Chaos Williams to win by a decision at plus 700. Reason why I say that is I think his hands can really disrupt if he doesn't get taken down, keeps the fight on the feet. He's the better striker here, but as one of my best bets, over 1.5. Long shot prop, Williams by decision.
All right, there you go. So you got your last best bet in there, as well as a long shot prop. And that rounds out the main card. Let's take a look back at how we're breaking up our unit here at UFC Fight Night. I'll let you go into, just recap how we're splitting up your units on these best bets.
Give me my guy RoboCop to win inside the distance. This is my Parker's premium play, which has gone 3-1 this year with our 5-unit. Evan Shabazian and Bucka under 2.5 rounds. I expect Shabazian to fend off the early takedown attempts and eventually get the knockout. Just get it done before the last 2.5 minutes in the fight, Edmund. I beg of you. Bonfim Sadikov. I think it's going to be a really fun, competitive fight. Go over 2.5 rounds there. Angela Hill on the money line. I just feel like her veteranship here is going to be beneficial. She gets the win. Bonfim Williams over 1.5 rounds. If Williams can stay away from getting guillotined or put on his back for the first 7.5 minutes, I think we'll be golden there. And for the fun of it, if you want to parlay all those and I sweep, plus 1376 if you parlay it.
Yeah, man, I thought the analysis last week was great. It's great again this week. The results were good last week. Hopefully we follow up and get a little bit of a hot streak here in the month of February. Let's take a look now at our long shot parlay for UFC Fight Night.
Yeah, this is as long shotty as long shotty gets based on the numbers. We're going to go as all 3 submissions. RoboCop to sub Jared Cannonier. We talked about this early in the show. This guy's a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner. He just hasn't used it as much because his knockout power has been phenomenal. Rodolfo Vieira, we already know this guy's a sub machine. I expect Petrosky to try to wrestle, get tired. Vieira to get a sub late in that fight. And Angela Hill, she's won by sub over Luana Pinheiro, and her opponent, Ketlin Souza, half of her losses have come by sub. I'm going to take a shot on her getting the back and getting a sub there. So let's go at a absolutely crazy number. That's what we call a long shot, my friend.
Yeah, just a nice little conservative plus 29,000 payout there on the long shot parlay. How about the Parker's parlay for this week?
I don't know who that is in the graphic, but he is stunningly handsome. We're going to go Rodolfo Vieira. We're going to go Matthews and Delgado over 1.5. Brett, that fight's going to be a lot of fun. Delgado looked fantastic on the Contender Series. Matthews looked good until he got knocked out by Bazooka, but that was in the final round. So over 1.5 there. And Walter Walker, the brother of Johnny Walker, to beat Dontel Mays. I am fading Mays. I'm tired of Mays messing with our plays every time we play with him. So going against him, plus 192. Let's go.
Normal fight time this week, 4 Eastern prelims, 1 Pacific. You can find it on ESPN Plus, and then that main card. Again, I'm going to say it again, a sneaky, very good sneaky main card. That is a 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN Plus. Thank you so much, Ian. We're about to get on that hot streak in 2025. We will see you at the window, and we'll see you next week at UFC. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the weekend.